Hi, Aries. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October 2019. For you, Aries, this month begins with strong relationship themes, which then deepen considerably as the month goes on. Julia is going to talk about Mercury activity and relationship stuff for you this month, Aries. Take it away, Julia.
All right, Jamie. Hey, Aries, how are you doing? So this month, at the very, very tail end of the month, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde
Mm.
cycle again. But right before that actually happens, we're going to be entering a shadow period. And actually, Jamie and I just did a whole video on what a shadow period means in terms of Mercury. So you should check that out for this month too.
Yeah, find that in our YouTube playlist for October news. That's where
Yeah.
to find that.
So, on the 2nd of October, Mercury is going to be moving into your eighth house. There's actually a lot of activity going on in your eighth house. So, let me take a second to explain what the eighth house means.
Mm.
The eighth house is known as a very sort of intimate, a very sort of intense house. Traditionally, it's the house of shared resources. So, that could be anything where either you and a family member, you and a partner kind of combine your resources together, such as through an inheritance, through any types of investments. Also, it deals with debts too, because it's also the house of other people's money. So, what it means just off the bat to have Mercury going into that house, it means that since Mercury is the planet of communication and thought, that you might be getting involved in a lot more deep and intense conversations, perhaps even with your partner this month. And this might have to do with themes such as security, because the eighth house, since it's about shared resources, they're definitely, money and these types of things are what provide us security in life. Or you might be going over things with your partner, like, I don't know, getting out a combined credit card together, with maybe with both of your names on it, or thinking about perhaps purchasing a house together, anything where you might have to pool your resources. And as Mercury enters that shadow period, right before it turns retrograde, it might mean you have to sort of smooth out or iron out some issues regarding how to handle your money and shared resources, maybe even with a partner.
Yeah, that'll
However,
be
when
around
Mercury is in
October
the eighth
20th.
house, what's that, Jamie?
October 20th is when Mercury's going to be slowing down
Oh,
and
yeah, that's a
and
good date
entering
to
that
know.
shadow period, getting ready to turn retrograde.
Yeah. Eighth house is also a house that has a lot to do with investigation and research. So if there's anything in your life that you're kind of information you're trying to ferret out or learn more about, that could be a very fruitful time period. Or even if it's a research project at school. So that's what Mercury is doing in there. Then Mars, which is the planet of action and activity and passion, it's also a very sort of sexual and feisty planet. It's going to be entering your seventh house on October 3rd.
Mm.
And the seventh house is a little bit different than the eighth. It's a little bit more harmonious. It's a little bit more about finding sort of compromise, while the eighth is about sort of the urge to merge on many different levels with another person. So while it's in the seventh house, it could be kind of a feisty time in your relationships where you might run into a little bit of conflict or disputes over things. But you can use that Mars energy to also divert it into finding resolutions as well within your relationships too. Because you are maybe more prone to confront others in one-to-one situations, because the seventh house is very one-to-one person versus like at the 11th house, which deals with groups. So that could be just kind of a little extra spicy time in your relationships.
Hmm.
And then Venus, which is the planet of pleasure, it's the planet of romance, relationships, it enters the eighth house on October 8th. So that's going to bring a lot more intensity, a lot more wanting to merge with your partner on so many different levels. It's also kind of it's a very sort of amorous period too. You might feel like being more physically expressive with your partner too. And that's quite a transition from when she was in the seventh house, where you were kind of putting more of your focus into having things just kind of be harmonious and flowing in relationships. Now things are going to become a lot more intense.
Mm.
What do you think, Jamie, about all that?
You know, I want to bring up something that Aries hates to talk about,
Mm.
and that is trauma.
Ooh.
This is just a great time to work on some old stuff that may be putting a drag on your tail
Yeah.
and making it hard to move on and move forward and barrel onward the way Aries loves dearly to
Oh,
do. And there are so many reasons why I think this, partially because of the stuff you were talking about, Julia, all these planets moving into the eighth house. And then there's also a full moon this month happening on the 13th. My software is not responding, but I'll just keep talking. In 20 degrees of Aries, and that is going to be covering the 7th and 1st house axis. So the sun will be in the 7th house, the moon will be in the 1st house. And so yeah, now I'm able to use the software again. I want to show this on the 13th. Yep. So here's the sun in 20 degrees in the 7th house, opposite that Aries moon in the 1st house. And there's nothing like an Aries moon for you, Aries, to just really bring you into your fullness of expression. It's a time when you can really sound off, where you can really get big, where you can really know how you feel. Now, this particular full moon is going to include a square to Pluto. So that's going to bring up a lot of intensity. It could bring up some old triggers for you because Pluto rules that 8th house and those Scorpio planets and brings us back to that theme of trauma. So that's also around the time of the month when Mercury is starting to slow down in the 8th house there in Scorpio, almost as if to say, I'm going to be traveling backwards. We're going to have some conversations about some things that happened in the past that left me with, trauma that only using my voice, only speaking it out is going to really deal with. So,
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I actually think with a lot of the planetary picture of what's going on this month, seeking help like from some type of healing modality or just going to a traditional therapist, especially with all that 8th house energy. And then Mars going into the 7th, putting energy into finding someone to consult with.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good homework for Aries this month.
Yeah, what a good point that is. And it's really easy as astrologers, Julia, for you and me to talk about, the light, fluffy stuff like, oh, Mercury and Venus in the 8th house, sexy time. And it's true. But if you're carrying a load of trauma, this is a great time to offload some of that crap that's not yours.
Yeah.
That you just don't have to carry. It doesn't have to hold you back. So as the month goes on, we arrive at the sun moving into the 8th house, and the sun generally shines a spotlight in whatever area it's in. The 8th house is the house of sex, death, transformation, rebirth. It is a very metamorphic place. I call it the house of the alchemical cauldron of change.
Wow.
And this is the place, where we bury that stuff that we don't want to look at or don't have time to look at. And then poop, it pops up, right? You got to deal with it. So the new moon is coming then on October 27th, right here in that 8th house. Right there it is. Sort of hopped over it halfway through the day there. And that to me just says plant seeds of healing in the deep layers of your psychology. And slow down for a minute, Aries, and notice how stuff feels and be okay with feeling some stuff that maybe was deferred and let it go so that you can move on at speed the way you so very much love to do.
Clear out the psychic baggage, dude.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the stuff we have for you this month, Aries. I hope you enjoyed it. Look for our November horoscope next month, and you can always find these horoscopes in our YouTube playlists and also on our site, pandoraastrology.com/horoscope, and we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.